He didn't mention my name in the statement. I just saw it quickly. He didn't mention my name, but many people have called for his impeachment, the impeachment of this judge. I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical left. He was Obama appointed. And he actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination.
To self-deport the easy way, or they can get deported the hard way, and that's not pleasant. The Biden administration exploited the CBP HOME app to allow more than 1 million aliens to illegally enter the United States. Now my administration is launching the CBP HOME app.
President Trump launches CBP HOME app. CBP HOME is a mobile application that grants you access to a variety of services provided by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, a platform where aliens can now notify the U.S. government of their intent to depart the United States. However, one judge is hell-bent on stopping Trump's deportation order. Here is the top 5 things you must know about James E Boasberg. The judge recently revoked Trump's deportation order. Boasberg's most recent incident started when he stopped Trump from deporting suspected gang members to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act, a wartime provision from the 18th century. He called a hearing regarding the possible defiance of his rule after 2 deportation planes proceeded in spite of his verbal order to stop them. While Trump has intensified his assaults, labeling the judge an unelected troublemaker and agitator, and advocating for his impeachment, in a social media post on Tuesday, the Justice Department is now attempting to have Boasberg removed from the case. Chief Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court issued an uncommon rebuttal to the impeachment request, arguing that judicial disputes should be resolved through the regular appellate process rather than impeachment. Roberts backed Boasberg's ruling. In the midst of Trump's most recent court fight, federal judge James Boasberg has ruled against the administration's use of wartime legislation from the 18th century to deport migrants. Trump and his friends have called for his impeachment in response to the ruling, which stopped deportation flights to El Salvador. Sean Davis, the CEO and co-founder of The Federalist, wrote a very good lengthy piece explaining Judge James Boasberg's evil intentions. It goes like, lest anyone think judicial insurrectionists like Russian Gate co-conspirator James Boasberg are plowing new ground with regard to deportation of hostile foreign enemies. They are not. In fact, Boasberg is maliciously violating the law as part of a corrupt conspiracy to seize the powers of the presidency for himself. We know this because the Supreme Court ruled in 1948, long after World War II was over, that the Alien Enemies Act gave the U.S. president absolute authority to detain and deport a German who had been in the U.S. legally since the 1930s. In the case of Lurke versus Watkins, the Supreme Court ruled explicitly that not only could the president deport legal foreign residents, even if they weren't members of a foreign army, but that the courts had no authority to even review the president's decision to do so. The Alien Enemies Act precludes judicial review of the removal order. The Supreme Court ruled years after World War II had ended. Such great war powers may be abused, no doubt, but that is a bad reason for having judges supervise their exercise, whatever the legal formulas within which such supervision would nominally be confined, the Supreme Court majority declared. Accordingly, we hold that fully responsibility for the just exercise of this great power may validly be left where the Congress has constitutionally placed it, on the President of the United States. The founders, in their wisdom, made him not only the commander-in-chief, but also the guiding organ in the conduct of our foreign affairs, the Supreme Court ruling continued. He who was entrusted with such vast powers in relation to the outside world was also entrusted by Congress almost throughout the whole life of the nation with the disposition of alien enemies during a state of war. In the current instance, the president on January 20th declared a national emergency at the border, noting an ongoing invasion by hostile and violent foreign enemies. This assault on the American people and the integrity of America's sovereign borders represent a grave threat to our nation, the president declared. Because of the gravity and emergency of this present danger and imminent threat, it is necessary for the armed forces to take all appropriate action to assist the Department of Homeland Security in obtaining full operational control of the southern border. For this reason, Boasberg needs to be placed under criminal investigation. Any security clearances currently granted to him must be revoked. All his communications must be seized and reviewed, and he must be removed from the bench until the criminal investigation into his activity is concluded. Sean Davis previously worked as an economist policy advisor to Governor Rick Perry and also as CFO of Daily Caller and as chief investigator for Senator Tom Coburn. Sean Davis received a BBA in finance from Texas Tech University and an MBA in finance and entrepreneurial management from the Wharton School. Number 2. Going on swiftly, the judge sentenced the Jan 6 rioters. High-profile and politically heated situations are nothing new to Boasberg. He has rendered decisions on a number of matters through the judge's 14 years on the federal bench, such as the sentence of the Jan 6 rioters, FBI surveillance abuses, and Trump's grand jury probes. In addition, Boasberg oversaw dozens of riot cases from January 6th and frequently imposed lesser punishments than those sought by the prosecution. He was called a clown and a fraud by a member of the Proud Boys at one particularly memorable hearing. After responding coolly, Boasberg gave the guy a 6-year jail sentence. 3. The judge oversaw a secret grand jury. Boasberg was a direct observer of special counsel Jack Smith's investigations into Trump's attempt to rig the 2020 election while serving as chief judge of the federal court in Washington, D.C. In 2023, he presided over a secret grand jury case that directly influenced the case against Trump by ordering former Vice President Mike Pence to testify. 4. The judge allegedly reviewed FBI misconduct too lightly. Boasberg was also crucial in managing the consequences of the Trump-Russia probe, especially when it came to examining FBI wrongdoing. He supervised adjustments as a judge on the Foreign Intelligence Monitoring Court, FISA, when it was discovered that the FBI had improperly processed monitoring petitions pertaining to Carter Page, Trump's 2016 campaign aide. Some Trump supporters attacked his mild punishment of an FBI lawyer who pled guilty to manipulating an email used in those surveillance applications, even as he slammed the FBI for deceiving the court. Trump's followers continued to bring up the issue frequently, claiming that the Justice Department's errors were not sufficiently penalized. 5. The judge had previous appointments from Obama and Bush. After a knee replacement a few years ago, Boasberg's playing days are gone. He used to play basketball. He had a distinguished career as a former murder prosecutor in the nation's capital and played basketball at Yale University, where he also obtained his law degree. However, according to Ron Martian, a friend and former co-worker, the judge was actually pretty good on the basketball court. Boasberg has established a reputation among peers as a nonpartisan principled judge. President Barack Obama appointed him to the federal court in 2011, but President George W. Bush had reassigned him to a position on the D.C. Superior Court 10 years prior.
The effort of transparency about the 261 illegal aliens who were deported. 137 of those were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. 101 of those were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII, which, as you know, are just regular immigration proceedings.
To give people in our country illegally an easy way to leave now and self-deport voluntarily. If they do, they could potentially have the opportunity to return legally at some point in the future. But if they do not avail themselves of this opportunity, then they will be found, they will be deported, and they will never be admitted again to the United States, ever again. You're never coming in. Using the CBP HOME app to leave the United States voluntarily is the safest option for illegal aliens, our law enforcement. It also saves the U.S. taxpayer dollars and valuable CBP and ICE resources. And all of those resources are necessary to focus on dangerous criminal aliens, and that's what we're focused on. The CBP HOME app is now available free across all mobile app stores, and I encourage those who have violated our laws to use this option today. Do it right and come back into our country. Do it wrong and you'll never be back again.